We associate ancient Indian erotic texts with incense, silk, and mysticism. Strip away these modern projections, and the underlying structure is starkly analytical. This is Chatushashti, or the 64 arts. While often translated as a collection of skills, the term represents a rigorous academic taxonomy. Popular culture treats this number as a literal checklist, a menu of physical acts to be memorized and executed. The original Sanskrit commentaries frame this number as the center of a technical dispute over how to classify human behavior. Chapter 2 of the Kama Sutra functions as a record of this debate, documenting a conflict over scientific methodology and the limits of categorization. This conflict involves two distinct schools of thought, the older Babravya scholars and the later academic Vatsyayana. The Babravya school attempted to organize human interaction into a model of perfect mathematical symmetry. Vatsyayana challenged this rigidity, pointing to instances where the theory failed to account for observed human variance. By examining the text, we can trace how early scholars built a symmetrical matrix of behavior and how Vatsyayana systematically dismantled it. This debate documents the transition from theoretical idealism to a reliance on empirical data within ancient Indian science. The early Panchala scholars aimed to establish the study of physical erotics as a formal, recognized science. To gain academic standing, they utilized Dashatayyi, a structural concept borrowed from sacred Vedic literature. The Rig Veda, the era's foundational text, is divided into 10 cycles, or mandalas. Mirroring this, scholars divided physical union, samprayoga, into exactly 10 categories, or angas. This alignment allowed secular study to claim the structural authority of sacred scripture. By adopting this sacred architecture, early scholars prioritized theoretical elegance to secure the text's intellectual status. Sutra 4 outlines the Babravya school's final hypothesis for classifying physical interaction. Their model began with 8 primary categories of action, like the embrace or kiss. From there, scholars posited that every category contained exactly 8 variations. This calculation, 8 categories multiplied by 8 variations, defines the precisely 64 acts of the Chatushashti. This was a closed system. The Babravyas claimed every possible act was contained within this symmetrical grid. In this era of scholarship, a theory was often validated by its internal balance and mathematical harmony. The Babravyan matrix represented a theoretical ideal, organizing reality into a flawless, predictable taxonomy. In Sutra 5, Vatsyayana argues that this symmetrical model fails when compared to real-world observation. He points out that in practice, certain categories naturally contain far fewer than 8 variations. Conversely, other categories are highly expansive and easily exceed the 8-variation limit, distorting the grid's boundaries. Vatsyayana then identifies several external variables that the Babravyan model cannot account for. He lists necessary actions, such as vocalizations and unusual acts, that do not fit into any of the 8 primary categories. Including these variables breaks the mathematical consistency of the matrix. Vatsyayana chooses to follow these messy, real-world data points rather than maintain the aesthetic of a neat equation. This critique demonstrates that human behavior is too variable for a geometric grid, leading to the collapse of the Babravyan theory. This leaves the reader with a question. If the math is inaccurate, why does Vatsyayana continue to use the title 64? He resolves this through the concept of prayovada, or a general convention. The text explains this using a biological analogy, the Saptaparna tree. The name literally means 7-leafed, the standard academic name for the species. However, physical observation shows that individual branches often grow clusters of 6, 8, or 9 leaves. The name is an idiom, not an absolute count. We do not rename the species based on the variance of a single branch. Vatsyayana argues that taxonomy must be flexible enough to allow for natural variance, while maintaining a consistent system of language. Under the Prayodavada rule, 64 is understood as an academic tradition, Ruti, rather than a literal mathematical claim. Vatsyayana acknowledges the structural framework of his predecessors, while explicitly rejecting their rigid constraints. This internal critique proves that ancient Indian scholarship valued evidence-based revision and rigorous peer review. Viewing the Kama Sutra as a mere erotic manual ignores its complex technical and scholarly objectives. Chapter 2 addresses the tension between theoretical perfection and the reality of physical evidence. Ultimately, the legacy of the Chatushashti is the prioritization of empirical observation over theoretical symmetry.